The 86 has had a very interesting last 2 years. We've gone from an F-4 squadron to an F-16 squadron, initially in the Block 25 F-16, and recently transitioned to the Block 30 F-16. Things have turned out very, very well for us. We've been able to fly significantly higher rates than we anticipated for a new system. We've been able to sustain very high sortie rates, been able to demonstrate over the past 8 months to 13 different major inspection teams that we're capable of doing what we're supposed to be doing here in Europe. We can respond within minutes to a scramble order and have as many aircraft as we've had on alert airborne in minimal time in order to respond to tasking. Of course, in a wartime situation, we are tasked through NATO. We always had more aircraft ready than they needed to task. In that respect, considering the peacetime environment, we did saturate the system a little bit. The aircraft can take off in minimal surfaces. So although we have one runway at Ramstein, we have certainly other capabilities to take off the aircraft. As long as you get a long enough straight stretch, we can get the aircraft airborne and be able to perform our mission. Okay, as we look around the Ramstein environment, you see that it doesn't look like the average American's idea of an Air Force base. Dispersal that we have here for very good reasons. Survivability, ability to continue to operate under aircraft attack. It's more demanding on our people. They have to be ready to move in many directions at once and be able to service that aircraft for a quick turn being the bread and butter of our business. One of the major benefits of an F-16 or a new generation aircraft is that you can turn it quickly. You turn it quickly and get it up in the air quickly. We have an aircraft that flies well, is sustainable, doesn't break very often. So just like the airlines want to keep their aircraft flying, we want to keep our aircraft flying too. And a quick turn helps us do that because it keeps them in the air where they can be fighting, which is what you really need. Now, one of the questions we frequently get asked, particularly as older guys, is how does it feel to fly a machine like this? For me, it's just a thrill to continue flying. And flying an aircraft like this is just simply awesome. It's a magnificent opportunity. It gets tough on the old body at times, but it's just great. It's got great systems. It's got great engine. You can select that engine at any time you want, anywhere in the envelope. You can ask for afterburner, and it's there. The F-110 is a super engine. We've done homework in developing engines. We've worked very hard with everyone involved, and we're getting the product we're paying for in the United States Air Force these days. But I really want to ask what it's like to fly the airplane. Don't ask those old guys, because, yeah, we've flown a number of generations of aircraft. That's the young kids who are flying it now. They come out of pilot training after flying T-38s for a while, which is in itself is a pretty old airplane. Step into the newest F-16. They're the ones that give you the words of how it feels the first time they strap it on, how it feels the first time they go air-to-air, and how it feels after they've flown it for about 200-300 hours, and they're really comfortable with the airplane, its capabilities, and what it can do for them.
One of the advantages, again, of the F-16 is that it can fulfill so many missions so well. And one of our favorite missions is the air-to-air mission. It looks pretty simple on the surface, but it can be very, very demanding, and it's a very physically tough mission to fly as well because of the G's you're pulling. The adversaries that we're going to be facing are improving their technology and improving their weapon systems, their aircraft platforms and avionics to such a degree that they're really becoming fairly comparable to what we have. So what we have to do is beat them by training. And we still have an enormous advantage, I think, in the aircraft we fly. The advantage of the new F-110 engine, to me, is the ability to throw this thing around and just mess the engine around at whatever regime of flight you're in, whatever altitude you're at, whatever airspeed you're at. In other words, you can just throw it into burner, even if you're doing 50 knots over the top, which you wouldn't want to be doing, obviously, and you're at 30,000 feet, heavens forbid, and you can snap it back to idle by the same token. The electronic controls in the engine take care of the pilot. If it senses, okay, he wants full AB now, but we're not going to give it to him. We're going to kind of feed it in so that we can get the airflow through the engine working properly. It's going to do that. Where this is really important is, say, for example, you get stuck with you got a bogey trapped at just 6 o'clock for 9,000 feet, and he's about to launch a heater at you. You want to turn, defeat his missile shot, but at the same time, you don't want to give him a big heat source, okay? So you might do a countermeasures turn, infrared countermeasures turn in idle or in mill power, okay? Say you're cruising along at a tactical airspeed of 500 knots, you break into the guy at idle, you're going to put a good bat turn on him for, 180 degrees of turn. Now you're going to be out of energy. Now is where you want your power back in. You can go straight from idle, just throw it full into max AB, and it's going to light for you. It's going to light progressively or as it sees fit, but it's going to save your ass.
The F-16 came online as a 9G aircraft from the start, and we're able to employ that very, very well. As we received improvements in engines, we are not only able to pull on 9G, but sustain it significantly longer. And particularly at low and medium altitudes, that capability is decisive in air-to-air combat.
I, as a fighter pilot, never have to consider the G. I can slap on a maximum G, 9G turn at any time and never have to consider over G in the aircraft, unless, of course, I have some stores on board that may prohibit that. But, for instance, when your fuel tanks run dry, you're right up to a 9G aircraft, you never have to worry about that. And that allows a person to make defensive reactions, roll in on a threat, roll into a target area without ever having to consider what harm might take place with the aircraft.
It protects you, the pilot, and lets you get the max out of the jet. So it's super in that regard. Again, low altitude thrust is pretty amazing. I came from the F4 and then went to the F-16. F-16 being a giant step up in performance over the F4.
Also getting into a turning aerial engagement, I found that just the pure muscle of the new engine makes it a lot easier to defeat just about any other airplane that we've flown against. It's a remarkable, amazing difference in performance and power, and it almost makes a child's play to go up against any other type of aircraft.
We're proud of the aircraft, we're happy to show it, and our pilots are very, very happy to be able to show the rest of the Allies how it's done with the new aircraft and the capabilities it's got. It is an awesome airplane. It's got magnificent capabilities. Each improvement becomes almost a new generation improvement to the aircraft. From improved avionics to improved engines, it just all continues to multiply and make it a more awesome, to use a current buzzword among the young pilots, fighting machine.
One of the major advantages in low-level flying, whether it be attack or strike, you have the ability to push it up from 450 knots and be at 550 or 600 knots as the case may be. If you get behind on timing or you find yourself getting jumped, you have the ability to turn and fight and maintain your bombs without having to punch them off, and still turn back around and make up the time you lost and make it to the target on time, which is a distinct advantage.
As we came around, they were superior in number. There were 4 of them and only 2 of us. We had killed 2 out at the merge right away and found ourselves at a disadvantage to the other 2 that were coming in. And when we pulled out around, my wingman called that there was an unknown observed entry coming from behind. With any other airplane, I felt that it would have been a quick fight or a quick ending to my life, as it would be in a very short order. But with this jet plugged in the burner and just came right over the top within 2 turns, I was gunning this guy instead of him gunning me.
As a wing scheduler here at Ramstein, I have the unique opportunity to do a lot of crosstalk and spend most of my time talking to the maintenance folks about putting together a flying schedule on a weekly, monthly, and quarterly basis. We have a lot of problems with weather and the European environment, but with the F-16C, we don't have any problems with aircraft availability. What we schedule is what we fly, and maintenance factors just do not come into play, especially in regards to engine availability and engine problems.
Anytime the pilot receives a fault, I can download it through this remote panel into my DDTU, take it into the AMU where I work, put it into the computer, and within 10 or 15 minutes, I know whether the fault was within limits or out of limits. This engine saves us thousands of man-hours.
The F-110 engine Maintainability is a lot better in the fact that we are able to keep the engine here on station instead of modules being shipped back and forth between depot and the site that the engine's located at. We are able to change blades. We're able to go into all the different modules, as in the fan, the cores. You don't have the costs of shipping modules back. Here we can keep the engines and just work on them. We don't have as many spares. We are able to operate with a significant number of less, spare engines in the shop, which, saves costs, saves the government a lot of money.
We're very, very proud of our performance in our recent tactical evaluation and operational readiness inspection. And it's all thanks to the troops and the motivation that they carry with them and that they're able to instill in themselves, and through our leadership, they're doing a superb job. The people are extremely happy to be in the cutting edge of the sphere, so we're quite proud to have brought on a new aircraft, the United States Air Force, and have done it so successfully.